But I think it helps us.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Gets us in the... Are we record? Oh, yeah, we are.
Whenever you're ready.
Wait, I gotta find the chapter. Where are we at?
Page.
We'll be with you in just a second.
Please hold. 185. Yeah, you got it.
Press 1 to continue holding. Press 2 for a callback.
You gonna call him back? 'Cause I don't use my phone that way.
Okay.
Text only,
Okay.
please.
Or press 3 for a text message.
Okay, I got that.
All right.
The air is not on in here.
4, 3, 2, 1. Hey, y'all. Welcome to Section 3.
Section
We
3.
are on the home stretch. Well, actually, we finished the home stretch. We are in the last part of the book discussing chapters 10, 11, and 12. And so if you have made it this far, congrats. You are at the end. If you haven't, that's perfectly fine. Keep going. Don't quit. It gets really good at the end. And we were just talking about that before we started the video, how this particular section, even though the whole book is great, this is really good. And maybe even our favorite part of the whole book.
Agree.
So we're not going to waste any time diving in because there's so much we want to share with y'all today.
Yes.
So let's get going. Starting with chapter 10.
That's right. Finding your family. She talks about how the first community group we are given by the Lord is our God-given family. The family you're born into, the family you marry,
And whether you like them or not.
that's right. For real.
I mean, for real.
And that's where we learn this dance of relationship. That's where we learn how to do relationship and to be better at it, hopefully. I've had a friend tell me before that some relationships are like spiritual sandpaper because the relationship cannot happen without continually working on yourself and calling upon the Lord, staying close to the Lord in order for I guess there to be peace and harmony in those relationships. But family, you don't get to choose them. It's chosen for you. If you don't want to be in a relationship with them, too bad, because you're related.
Stuck with them.
It is what it is.
But one thing, because this was convicting for me, and it was in the very last part, probably the last chapter, and she talked about if you go into a relationship, whether it be family, whether it be non-family, any relationship, and you go looking for beauty, you're going to find beauty. If you go looking for trouble, you're going to find trouble.
Yes.
If you go looking for something negative, you're going to find something negative. And so I think it begins with us. A lot of it begins with us in being intentional and finding, even though, yes, this is my family and they drive me nuts. If we change our perspective and we change our attitude.
Choose your attitude.
Choose your attitude, yes. Put on a different perspective.
Choose how to talk about them, how to
be happy for them rather than comparing yourself with them. Build them up rather than tearing them down. That just was really convicting for me, not just for family, like blood family, but for any relationship. And I think that's where a lot of times we just throw our hands up and, I'm done.
Agree.
I don't want any more to do with that. And that's a common thing that we have found throughout this book is she says, keep going. Don't give up because relationships are hard. They're messy. But that's the beauty of it. You push through those, you learn from them, and it usually comes out to be some of the very best ones.
That's exactly right.
So
the more you put into it, the more you can get out of it. And there's always learning in all of it.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Well, because we're imperfect people.
That's right.
And we're putting, I think, too many expectations on people. And then that's just a recipe for disaster when we put unrealistic expectations on things.
That's right. So then we have family that we kind of choose. It's the people we put around us in our lives that they're your friends, but they become more than friends. They see you, friends,
F-R.
A-N-D.
Friends and family.
That's right. They see you without makeup. They see you being real. What?
I'm just thinking of, let's see, Thursday was Shinny's birthday. And I had no intentions.
I know what you're.
I had no intentions of going to her house and seeing her. I was just dropping off something for her. And
I know exactly.
so I wasn't sure if she was home. And so I dropped my little gift off on her porch and put it on the bench. And I thought, oh, I'm going to make sure she's home, because if it rains or if the wind blows, I just want her to know that something's out there. And so I texted her and I said, "Are you home?" And she said, "Yes, but I think you said I'm ugly."
Let me see.
I have no makeup. I don't have any underwear.
Oh, I'm looking for my phone. We're recording. Yeah, I think I said yes, but I don't have a bra on and I'm ugly or something.
I was like, and then I thought, well, that's okay, because
I would have
it's
still
just
answered
me.
the door. Yeah,
But
that's exactly right.
Anyways, so yes, people. That's the kind of people she's talking
Yeah,
about.
exactly. Family that's chosen. Not everyone has a big natural God-given family, providing them lots of relationship. And then family like this just happens in everyday life. It's people that maybe your kids are friends with them and you find yourself with them all the time. Maybe you're on a sports team with them and you're with them all the time. Or maybe you just really click and you want to hang out all the time. And so this is when we get to choose who our family is. And then she talks about church being the best place to find family. And I love all that she discussed in that section. Church is truly the best place to find family. I grew up in a family where church was always a part of that. And so I have home church family to this day. I have people who practically raised me and think that I'm theirs. And if I go home and I see them, they're going to treat me and my babies and my family like family. And obviously we're in the ministry. And so that is where we find family. I've mentioned before, when we move away, when God called us to pedal, we moved away from our family. And so it was important for us to have church family. We have those adopted grandparents and aunts and uncles that keep our kids and help us out. And we truly do like family life with these people.
Yes. And there are, we've heard it before, and we'll hear it again at some point. You guys out there have probably heard it. You may even be one of the ones that has said, well, the local church hurt me. I don't want a part of that. I just want to read something.
Stop it, look.
To you.
And I was just looking at the page she marked.
Oh,
it's the
goodness,
page I
the
marked.
table.
It's fine.
Yeah, so.
Read it.
No, you go
read
ahead.
it.
Well,
you read it.
Okay, let me just read it. For those of you who may not have a book, I want you to know what this says. And then, so it says.
Page 197.
Yep, page 197. I'm going to read the last two sentences of page 196. It says, "For most people I talk to, the only collection of individuals that comes remotely close to having caused as much pain and trauma as their nuclear family, their blood family, the ones that they were given, not by choice, is the local church. Any guesses why? Because it's full of sinners. And guess what sinners do? Yep, they sin. We hurt each other. And one of the reasons people leave the church is because it doesn't feel like a family. It's not a group of people coming together to take care of each other under the banner of Jesus. No, these days you're lucky if you know a single soul at your church. We're more often a bunch of strangers who silently pass each other by. But it doesn't have to be this way. As followers of Jesus, we need each other. And as difficult as it might feel, a local church is one of the best ways to find your people." Skipping on down, she says, by being part of a church, you are part of something good. Church can be our people. Church can be our imperfect little village. Church can be our family.
And I think the reason we can be most hurt by our nuclear family and our church family is because we are vulnerable. We open up to them more than any other group. So you can't, it's kind of hard to compare them to other people. But I think that's something that's important within the church body. And we've talked about this, I think, our first session. Realizing that the church is made up of real people and real sinners. And yes, we are all, I'm going to mess up. Everyone's going to mess up. And she talks about later on that's where we're headed. The art of staying, knowing that these relationships are worth fighting for. She says, what if you're missing potentially beautiful, life-giving friendships that are waiting for you right inside your family or right down the street at a local church? And I know in my life, the people who make me love where I live, I would miss out on them if I wasn't a part of a church family.
And I love on that same page you just read from where she says, it's difficult and costly when you decide to be vulnerable and to work for a relationship or to become part of, whether it be, it says, I am a family member and I am a church member, and I know what a mess I can be, and I know what a mess you can be too, but here's what else I know. I love this part. There is nothing quite like having a full table of broken people. People around that table that we are fighting for, that we are celebrating, that we are laughing with, that we are loving, that we are being compassionate towards, giving mercy to, granting forgiveness, just all of those things, just like Jesus gives us. We not to chase a rabbit here, but I want to say this. So we were talking in Luke this morning about all the things that Jesus did while on earth, and asking ourselves, are we representing him well in following his example? And Dr. Tony Evans said in his commentary, he said,
I know, I wish he went to our church. In small group.
Yeah.
Grandpa Tony.
He can be our family. We
That's
can
right.
be our family.
Please.
But he said we are to give to others exactly what we want God to give to us.
That's
and then
beautiful.
you think about all those things that you want from God: compassion, kindness, love, mercy, all of those things. And those are the things you have to remember when you're in a relationship. You've got to give those things, as difficult as it might be. You got to give those things. Sometimes you may not get them back, but then sometimes you may. And that's just, I think that's just key here in finding your people.
Agree. And so while we're talking about church family and the art of staying, Pace and I, so it's a Sunday, and so we both lead small groups, separate small groups, and when we get together, when we happen to film, I think we filmed on a couple of Sundays so far, we cannot start filming because we have to talk about what happened in small group, all the good stuff God is doing, the people that we're pouring into, the people that we hear from, what God is doing in their lives. And you will miss out if you are not finding your people. You will miss out. If you are not part of a small group within your church body, you will miss out. And we were just sharing a few instances just this past year. We have been, my small group, and we're actually in my small group room, so I feel, at home, I guess. We have been walking through something with a girl who was willing to open up. It's just another member of our small group to open up and have us pray with her about a situation. And she knew the Lord was calling her to do something. And I don't want to just give away everything. She knew the Lord was calling her to do something, and it required a lot of sacrifices, like quitting her job, going to school, doing all kinds of things. And so there have been situations throughout this year where we were praying her through tests and different things. And while we have walked through this, there have been difficult times. There have been times where she's been really vulnerable with us, and her heartache was our heartache. But just recently, there was a big moment where God really showed up. He's been here throughout the whole story, but just a big movement of him at work in her, in what he's calling her to do, and in her obedience to him. And it was a moment of victory. And I promise, when we found out this victorious moment, we all thought one of our girls is going to med school. We'll just say that. And when she got into med school, I was just telling Paisley, we felt like we got into med school. Like, it was so huge. And so being vulnerable with people, you truly do have people who weep with you when you weep, and people who celebrate you when great things are going on. And so you will miss out if you're not plugged in.
You will, because a very similar situation happened in our small group time this morning.
Goosebumps, y'all.
Just talking about Jesus and all the things, one thing that you will find in Luke, you'll see a lot of verses that say Jesus went and told, and he was talking about the gospel, and he was talking about God, and he was talking about, how your sins can be forgiven, just redemption, and he restored, and he healed, and he drove demons out. I mean, he did all sorts of things for all sorts of people. And the question that I challenged my class with was, are we telling the world what Jesus has done for us? And one lady in my small group, she stood up and threw her hands in the air and said, "I am disease free." And she had just found out this past week that she had gone through her last treatment of chemo, and that she was on the other side of this cancer. And we all just, woohoo! I mean, if we would have had confetti, I would have threw it away. I mean, I would have made a huge mess. But we were so happy for her because we had been walking with her and praying
through
for
the valley
her and with her ever since day one. I remember it clearly the Sunday that she announced that she had been diagnosed with breast cancer. And her family, her husband, they are not ashamed to talk about what Jesus has done for them and how they have grown through this.
It's visible.
Like how they were prior to and now how they are as a family. And like you said, we feel as if we've gone through all that with them. We've grown as a small group, just witnessing the miracle healing of the Lord. So yes, I think you're missing out. And one thing, a lot of us, a lot of times, not that, well, I can't say I've ever heard this, but some people may think, well, I am a part of a small group. I was making notes as you were talking, because if I don't, I'll forget. I am a part of a small group. I have my soccer club or my book club or my dinner
PTO
club.
friends.
Yeah. And so I do have a small group outside of church, and that's great. We do need people to do life with in our life. But bring those folks with you to small group, and make God the center of those groups.
And bring Jesus with you to PTO. Bring Jesus with you to the soccer mom table. How can you go deeper? How can you go spiritual if that's a group of people that's not their background, I guess.
Yeah, there's so many, because yes, that's a great point, because some people aren't comfortable coming to the actual church building setting because of whatever reason. Maybe they have been hurt. Maybe they're just not comfortable because they've not overcome they're going to judge me. They don't know my past, or maybe they do know my past and I just can't stand to face them. I'm just afraid. Take Jesus to them.
And this is your opportunity to show them the church. Through their relationship with you, maybe you can help be a part of that healing process for them. Maybe you can help show them Jesus. And as a part of the church, the capital C church, I understand. We just talked about, we are sinners and we hurt people, and the best of us hurt people. And I don't, not to put levels on anyone, but like, it happens. And
yeah,
so,
like that time in that meeting where you ever...
You're not supposed to remember. Shouldn't have reminded her. And so you get to give the church another chance. Even though they're not stepping foot in your church, you get to show them the church through how you live and through your relationship with them. And then the Holy Spirit will do that work to draw them. And yes, invite them. I had friends who have a difficult relationship with the church, and so I invite them to small group. Like, skip church, forget that. By the way, meet my husband, he's the pastor, and we do have those situations. And I think it helps them to see us outside of the church walls and know that we're regular people too. And if that's the pastor of the church and he is a sinner and he is a regular person, maybe me as a sinner can feel at home with these people.
And I heard this a few times, or I read it somewhere or something, and it talked about it said, Jesus, the people within the church hurt you. Jesus didn't hurt you.
That's exactly right.
And so she talks about in this book how, well, that's really the art of staying. When you choose to stay, this is what happens. And that's what we have to do. We have to choose to stick to Jesus. Like, we can't give up on him because someone else hurt us. Someone in the church hurt us, or someone outside the church hurt us. I shared this with a group of ladies this past week because it's easy for someone like me to say, hey, I know so-and-so hurt you, but you just got to forgive and keep going. Because when I think about it, I don't recall a time where, maybe I have been hurt before by people. It's been a long time because I can't really remember. So I don't really truly know what it feels like to be hurt by someone to the point to where it is a daily struggle for me to do certain things, whether it be to come to small group or come to church or go here or go there or do this or do that. And so I don't know. I try to tread real lightly.
So I have been in the ministry. I have been hurt by church people, and it is very difficult separating the church people from God. I went through a time, and it was not this church family, I will tell you that. I went through a time where it was very difficult, and we lived in a small town, and you would hear how people were talking at Walmart, and I had a very hard time separating me being angry with people inside the church and me being angry with God. And God had to reveal to me, hey, you're mad at me right now. And the last place you want to go is church. Yes, as a pastor's wife. And we've got to get this straight, and we've got to work on your heart. Growing up, my pastor from my home church, he had a saying, and he was like, if someone is keeping you from God, if someone's keeping you from church, who's closer to God? If there's someone who is coming between you and your relationship with God, who is closer to God? And that person is. You're focused on that person, and they are blocking you from seeing God for who he truly is. And so we pray. I know the difficulty, and we pray for the Lord to work on your heart and help you to, whether it's forgiveness that needs to happen, whether it's a different church body or a different small group, whatever it may be. We pray for the Lord to work on your heart and help you to move past that and help you to see that God isn't the one that hurt you.
Because I know there are a lot of you out there that are hurting and that have been hurt. And that makes me sad. And I wish I could snap my finger and you feel better and it all be water under the bridge, and your day be different than it was the day before. But yes, we're going to pray that God reveals to you that it's him who loves you and who cherishes you and who says that you are worth it. Because I can't imagine the difficulty and the struggle that you must be in if we're speaking to you right now, the ones that are struggling, trying to find their people, trying to mend broken relationships. It's got to be difficult.
Yes, absolutely.
But where are you at on your notes?
Holding on to your people.
Oh yeah. So wait. So what changes when you choose to stay? So you know what? Things happen. Things change when you choose to stay. And as I was reading this, I couldn't help but think of the marriage relationship. Even though we're talking about girlfriend, guy to guy, or couple to couple relationships, whichever, I could not help but think about a man and a woman's relationship in marriage, what changes when you choose to stay. And I just encourage you, if you have the book, to read that. It's on page 200 and 201. But so many things happen when you choose to stay. You accept people for who they are instead of trying to constantly change them. You look for ways to serve them instead of constantly expecting things from them. You watch for opportunities to speak an encouraging word instead of questioning their every decision. And the moment you seek out chances to love them well instead of spending your days anticipating awful exchanges with them, that might be the moment when you see your family and church change. So a lot of it is just the perspective. And that's what we mentioned earlier. When you choose to find, or if you expect to find beauty in your family relationships, you'll find beauty. If you expect to find support, you'll find support. If you expect to find acceptance, then you'll find acceptance. And then if you expect to find friendship, 9 times out of 10, you're going to find a friend. And so, now this is my...
This is very practical.
We probably should have talked about this first.
I know.
We're going to try to keep this brief, but...
So, when you find your people, it's not check and we're done. But this is a journey. Relationships, we've talked about how difficult relationships are. When you find your people, I've seen a lot of people who are really good at finding them. And our table's a wobbly table. They're good at finding friends, but maybe not so good at keeping them. They're good friend makers, but when it gets a conflict comes up, or when it gets to be work or difficult, they're gone. They're going to find the easy relationships. That's not what God meant for our relationships. He meant for us to go through the difficult together. He meant for us to work through things and grow together. So for finding your people, being able to keep your people, God has to be the center of these relationships.
Because it's not him that we're fighting against. It's guess who? It's the enemy.
The enemy. Yes. Well, okay. Where should we even? She has a whole list.
Earlier when I was talking about, I have a small group outside of the church. I'm busy. You don't have time for relationships because we're so busy. Great. Bring people along.
Yes, that was my next note.
Yeah.
Invite people in at every turn.
Yeah.
Which honestly stepped all over my toes. I get busy.
Yeah, like
we got to prepare for a video.
Yeah. When are you going to invite me to Target on a Friday?
Exactly. I need her to quit her day job.
We laugh about those things, but I actually read that in the book where it talks about errands you got to run.
Yes.
Call a friend and say, hey, you want to run to Target with me? You want to run and swap these shoes out or whatever? Take them with you.
Yes.
I mean, even if it's just a small gesture.
So this week, our church has read through Luke. We read through the Bible together, and we've been in Luke, and it was also the sermon this morning, but it was on the Good Samaritan. And this was my takeaway from this chapter this week. The religious people who come upon this man who was beaten up and robbed and left there to die, they're too busy. They've got to go. They're going to be late for church. And it just cracks me up in a bad way, in a really sad way, that they are completely missing the point. But I was so convicted this week because this chapter starts out with the 72 Jesus sends off, and they come back and they give their mission report basically, and they're super excited about the things that God has done through them, and he's, reminding them what to be excited about. But they're so excited about their ministry work. But then we end the chapter with this example of the religious people doing a terrible job of loving others, loving their neighbor as themselves. And I was just convicted of okay, when I'm in Walmart and I'm in a hurry and I want to get out, Maybe that person I'm trying not to make eye contact with that I know on the aisle, maybe they're not an interruption. Or maybe the person that catches my eye in the hallway when I'm en route to something important, maybe they're not an interruption. And maybe the person who dares give me a phone call over a text message, maybe that's not an interruption. Maybe these people in these situations are the point. And I want us to not ever get too far from our calling, our sending out of the 72. That's our commission too. That's our Great Commission. That we forget that this daily process is the point.
The mundane.
Yes.
She mentioned that. I read that right here. So she was talking about how she had invited this college girl into her home to help with her kids
Yes.
and all this kind of stuff. And it was just she was doing her life. She was running her errands. She was
Folding
taking
that
care
laundry.
of her family. All while this college girl just soaked up in everything that Jenny, the author, was just doing, the mundane. Because that's what that college girl told her that influenced her the most. She says it wasn't the brilliant Bible study. It was all the small things, just the mundane interactions as we were just living, that made her feel seen, that made her feel appreciated, accepted, important. All those things. You were all over my toes just then.
Well,
doing
that's me
because-
regurgitating what was on my toes.
Yes. Yes.
So Jenny gives us some really good tips on holding on to our people and doing relationship well. Some traps she mentions: busyness. I mean, that's what we were just talking about. Gossip. That is something, nip it in the bud.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I have friend groups, or I have specific relationships that when I get together with them, our conversations love to lean that way. And I have to be very intentional to keep them on the up and up. I have to be very intentional, to the point of like praying before I go spend time with certain people. To guard my mouth, and for me to be able to keep everything above, not sinful, I guess holy, keep it holy.
Well, and she says right here, she says, can we just assume the best about each other and protect each other? Can we just assume the best can we just assume the best
Don't
about
be
each other?
easily offended. Be quick to apologize.
Show mercy.
Yes.
Give compassion. Grant forgiveness.
What did you say?
Be-
What we need from God, give to others.
Yeah, what we expect God to give to us,
give to others.
give to everyone else. And I have seen this more times in the last few weeks than I have. It's just the saying, talking about a business actually posted this. And it talked about the person you're standing next to. Don't be a jerk. You don't know if they're about to fall apart. It didn't say it exactly like
Right.
that, but this is
I like
just
that.
paraphrasing. You never know the person that you interact with, that you come in contact with. You never know what's going on under the skin. Don't be a jerk. Be nice. Be kind. Like you said, what if it wasn't an interruption? What if it was a divine intervention?
Yep. I
A
love it.
chance to tell them about Jesus, maybe not with words, but in actions.
I love it. Some other things to avoid in relationships: comparison. And we kind of mentioned that a second ago. That is a destroyer of relationships. Laziness and fear. All of these things take work. Do you have anything else to share on?
Oh, gravy. I've got the whole page.
It's all pink.
Yes, I've got the whole page underlined. And I love what she said about the trap of comparison. She was sitting in a group of, I can't remember exactly what, she was actually not the teacher that night. Someone else had been brave enough to lead, she said, to stand up and share their soul. And the whole time this girl was talking, Jenny, the author, was shooting her text messages about how great she was doing and how great she was. And so the girl come back after the event and hugged her and said, "Your texts were blowing up my phone during my whole talk." And she said, "I had my notes on my phone." So she was looking at her phone, and all the while
That
these
sounds like
text
something we
messages,
do.
yes, coming up. And she said, "So you know what? Let's be those kinds of people. Let's blow up people's lives to the point of distraction as we tell them all the ways they are killing it, how great they're doing, how great they are, cheering for one another, propelling each other forward."
I love it.
Yeah, that section right there, just because that's so gravy this table because that section is just so practical, because I've struggled with comparison. You struggle with comparison. We still do to this day.
I don't know that it doesn't affect everyone.
Yeah.
I don't know how you can live
Yeah.
in 2022 and
yeah.
social media,
Yes,
just
yes.
all the ways.
Yeah.
And it's a killer of relationship.
It
is.
Because the enemy whispers how great, and too, we can see, like you said, with social media, we can see these people
Sharing what they choose to share.
exactly
Mhm.
with all these filters that
Oh, yeah.
make their teeth white and their skin perfected and
Mhm.
the porcelain ivory.
Mhm.
I'm just
And they're not going to share the terrible moments of life,
right.
Yes.
So,
And then, I don't know, we keep saying each section is our favorite, but this last section, the intimacy of the few, I love her story about the girl she knew who went to college and just made a ton of friends, but could not have felt lonelier. And we've mentioned it, a few times throughout this, the importance of being real with everyone, being transparent with few, or some, transparent with some, but be vulnerable with few. And so it spoke to me a lot, because I feel like Paisley's this way too. Just what we do, any kind of leadership position, people think they know you, and you're going to have lots of friends. And it's easy, for some people it is easy just to make friends, people you call friends. But if you do not have your people, these people who you can be vulnerable with, you can share life with, you can tell them when you're struggling, you will feel lonely. You will have people around you, but you won't be known. You won't feel seen.
Yeah. Those people, we need people who are in it with us.
Yes.
That was a section in the book that tell you you're not a bad mom.
Yes.
Or you're not a bad wife. People in your life that can speak to you with, let's see, they know what you need.
Yes.
And sometimes you don't even have to tell them.
And sometimes
need.
they know what you need when you don't even know what you need. They know
Right.
you that well.
Yes, I think that's what I was trying to get through.
Yes.
I just could not articulate that
I knew
thought.
what you wanted to say.
That right there was, you think back, and I've said this numerous times in the last several years, where when we started women's ministry, I think we've shared that before, how we just saw the need of trying to help people connect and realizing our own need, and realizing that we're all just a mess. And I've admitted in times where I would look at certain people and be like, she's more spiritual than me. There's no way I could ever be a part of that, because they're just so much better than me. And I've forgot where I was going with this. Goodness. But we were talking about, gravy. Go ahead, Jenny, say something and let me see if that thought comes back.
Just the intimacy of a few people knowing you for who you really are, and just guard against relationships that have no depth. The relationships that you have right now, press in to go deeper. And honestly, I kind of want us to close out the same way she did. We have done this study all summer, and I don't want you to think just because we're done reading, we're not done. We have not done any get-togethers. Summer, if anything, I don't know about y'all, it's been crazier. It was short, and it was busier than I said, I need school to start so life can slow down, which sounds insane. But if you find yourself finishing this book and you haven't found your people, I don't want you to feel hopeless. I don't want you to be sad. I want you to continue to keep on putting these things into practice. If you know us, reach out to us. We love connecting people. We love, and there are some of you that we see you, and we will do what we can to help you find your people. But the most important thing to know is, even in this place right now, whether you found your people or not, Jesus is the best friend that you can ever have. And I think that's how she ended this. People are always going to fail us. No matter how good your people are, they're still human. They're still real people. And no one can be Jesus but Jesus. And so the most important relationship that we want to point you to overall is a relationship with Christ. And let me just tell you, I'm ready to throw out the plan of salvation, because I got to lead one of my girls from small group to Jesus today. And so I'm like, who's next? I'm about to go stand on the street corner. But he's the most important in any relationship. He's the foundation of your relationships with your people. He is the one who helps your relationships be strong, he helps you love them well. He helps you forgive them well. He helps you do life with them well. And without him, we're all just a big old mess.
And that relationship has to be right for other relationships to be right.
That's exactly
and
right.
And that goes not only with friends, like girl to girl or whatever, but in marriage, in work, in all aspects of life. That relationship has to be right. And so if you're watching this, wherever you are, and you have no idea who Jesus is, or you're not sure that you have that relationship with him, like Jenny said, please reach out to us. We'll be happy to tell you.
We'll leave our emails in the description, and then you can message us and we will get back to you.
Yes, absolutely.
Promise.
And look, one thing, we want to hear from you guys. So if you are reading this book, whether you've only gotten through the first few chapters, whether you finished it, whatever the case might be, comment, interact with us in the comments of our videos. We'd love to hear from you. We want to know what you've taken away from this book.
Yes.
We can't wait to see you in person.
Yes.
Hopefully some of you that are close by. And like Jenny said, we've got some other things coming, so don't think this is it.
No. It's only the beginning.
That's right. Y'all stay tuned for other things. We're going to do a couple other things in regards to finding your people. So y'all stay tuned for that. And
we love y'all.
Yes. Thank y'all for sticking it out
Yeah.
with us. Keep going, though, if you've not
Yes.
finished.
Yes.
Keep going. Don't give up.
Bye.
Until next time, y'all.